Hey YouTube, welcome back to All Things Video Games. It's I'd like to welcome back Greg. It's been over a month. Hope
Yeah, family stuff.
hopefully your holiday season was fantastic, and you know hope you had some video game time.
I don't
But
know about video game time. I got some video games,
well,
but
that's good.
time aspect,
So,
it's true.
obviously, the Nintendo Switch reveal, well, it's already been revealed, but
The event.
yeah, that big event, which is on the 12th, I do believe the 12th,
Yes, the 12th. And just today, as of this recording, they
which would
actually
be
announced,
January 5th.
yep,
Yeah.
they announced that they're going to have a Treehouse Live stream that's going to take place the very next morning on the 13th, Friday
Oh boy,
13th.
oh boy.
So I don't know how the hell, like, I'm not going to be able to watch that at the time because I'm going to be at work.
I'm gonna
And
probably be on a plane, so
yeah, so we'll do what we can.
yeah,
We'll
definitely.
yeah,
I'll be having to call you from the Philippines.
yeah, yeah, that'll be fun.
So anyway, what I was thinking we could do, like, I want to recap some of the major rumors and some of our theories, and then actually before we do any of that, I kind of want to talk about Nintendo's successes.
Right.
Not necessarily all of them, because everyone knows the NES was a huge success, but maybe just like the past two generations, and then of course the Switch would be included in there.
So basically GameCube up till today,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I'm thinking. Because like when it comes to the GameCube, I didn't have it right away, but we had friends that did, and of course we got to play
Yeah.
it at their place or whatever. And to me, it's almost like one of the consoles that almost kind of like a hidden gem as
Yeah.
an entire system. I
Yeah,
mean, it just the look of it, the nostalgic feeling today for me is just kind of so cool.
what's really interesting is when you look back at those generations, starting with the GameCube, then the Wii, and then the Wii U, you got the GameCube, which was Nintendo's worst selling console up till that time, with 22 million total sold
Yeah,
in its lifespan. And then you have the Wii, which was like over 100 million, making it its most successful console ever, period. And and then you have the Wii U, which didn't even do half, maybe, well, it might did half of what the GameCube did at around 11 million or 12 million or so. Uh that's a crazy roller coaster for that company.
that you know what though, it's interesting because if you look at the Wii and you go by those numbers, in a way you could almost count the Wii U numbers towards it because essentially it has a Wii built inside. I
Yeah.
mean, and there's still, I don't know why, but there's still Wii games coming out.
Because there's 100 and something million units out there in the
Yeah, and
wild.
obviously
So that's
people are
why.
still buying them. It's insane.
So here's the interesting thing for me. Now, as most of your viewers know by now, I'm a big fan of Nintendo, and there's no denying that. I wouldn't go so far as to say I'm a fanboy, because I play everything else just as much, if not more. But the thing is like, I love Nintendo from the moment I laid eyes on Super Mario Brothers on the NES. That carried on through the Super Nintendo, and the N64. I kind of dropped off because it was just like it felt like to me, not only were the graphics kind of muddy looking compared to everything else at the time,
Yeah.
it felt like they were just like making a bunch of like platformers. Like everything was a Mario 64 clone all of a sudden. And then they had various first person shooter games on the system, most of which were ports. So the GameCube to me was like, this is Nintendo's time to turn that around and get back to being in like the Super Nintendo days, which is kind of funny because a lot of people say that now about the Switch.
Wow. Well, yeah, see, like, the GameCube for me, when I first bought it, I picked up, was it the Star Wars game?
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, and I mean, I actually still go back to it today from time to time.
Hmm.
Uh, let's see, what else did I pick up? Oh boy. I know I got that one for sure, and I think there was one other game. I can't remember it exactly, but I had like two games for a while. Oh, I did get Metroid, Metroid
Okay.
Prime, and I played Metroid Prime for quite a bit, and then I got stuck, and I couldn't pass the level. I'm like, whatever, and then because I had the Xbox, I would just go back to that, and to this day, I have not beat Metroid Prime because I could
I
never get past that spot.
It was only a couple of years ago that I finally beat Metroid Prime. Uh, and I think I actually did it on the Prime trilogy on the Wii.
Yeah,
But
that's what I'll be using from now on because it's the controls are
so
so
good.
good, and
Yeah.
that's like, in my opinion, that's one of Nintendo's successes is
Yeah.
the control system. A lot of people hated it, but at
Hmm.
the same time, there were certain game types that just like you were god with those. First person
Yeah.
shooters for sure. You
Yeah.
know,
That was one thing the GameCube did really well to me was it basically had a really diverse library. Like after the N64 had like two genres total, with a few other things sprinkled in. Like all of a sudden the GameCube comes out, and not only do they have pretty much the same third party support as the rest for the most part, but like you had your Mario's and Zeldas, but then you also had like Metroid Prime, the first time Metroid was brought into 3D. But then you
and
had like Eternal Darkness,
oh, that's another
you
good one.
know. Then they made the sequel to F Zero with GX, and I would say that's
Sega made
better
that
tone.
though.
But they obviously sanctioned it.
Yeah, but
Um,
see, it's actually if you have the component
it's Daytona
cables.
USA is what it is.
Yeah, but if you have the component cables,
Looks
you can,
freaking awesome.
and it's in widescreen.
Yeah, a lot of GameCube games were.
But there are no Nintendo developed games that are in
No,
widescreen,
no.
which is shocking.
Then they had like the Game Boy player, which to me was cool because I my first dive on that generation, first console or game system was the GBA. Is for the first time. I never bought a portable since, but like I fell in love with that thing because I was poor and that's all I could
I
afford.
wanted one pretty bad. A friend of mine had it, and I remember also before that they had the hookup that you could get for your Game Boy Advance for like was it Legend of Zelda: The Four Swords or something, where you could have
Yeah,
four
link
people
cable.
playing at the same time,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
like if you were to go off screen, it would show up on the Game Boy, which to me is awesome. And then that kind of shows what Nintendo's future had in store as far as like the Wii U, you
right.
know.
And it's funny because there was a mutual friend of ours. He had Splinter Cell for the GameCube, which is kind of an odd version because like nobody really bought third party games on the GameCube.
Yeah.
But he had it because that's all he had for a long time. And I happen to have the GBA and link cable, and we like not it didn't take long for us to discover that there was compatibility between the two. So of course we had to check it out, and it was really cool because when you used it, the Game Boy Advance would have all kinds of extra info on its screen,
Oh, cool.
while you could still play on the TV traditionally. It's kind of interesting because a lot of what was being done there on the GameCube is what would eventually happen on the Wii U with Splinter Cell Blacklist.
Yeah,
Like Ubisoft
that's
was really
crazy.
like, yeah, two screens for like three generations.
I mean, that's crazy to think about, though.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a really neat idea that and Four Swords. One I never got to play, I still want, is Pac-Man Versus for the GameCube.
Mm.
Now, in that game, it's interesting because you can have multiple players on the Game Boys, all hooked into the GameCube. But the I'm trying to think. I know viewers are going to probably call me out on this, but I believe what it was is like the three other people playing on the Game Boy Advance units, they would see, like, they play as the ghosts, and they would only see like a little circle like around themselves, so they couldn't see where Pac-Man actually was. So they'd have to roam the maze trying to find them. Whereas the person on the GameCube itself could see the whole map, or it might have been the opposite way around. Maybe it's like one person on the GBA and then like the 3 or 4 ghosts or whatever on the GameCube screen.
Now I gotta get that link cable and
it sounds freaking cool.
The thing is, though, I wonder if it works on the Wii, because I don't have a GameCube currently. I just have the Wii.
I don't know. That's a good one. I actually don't know. I have the cable still and everything, but I haven't tried to use it.
Well, so check it out and let me know, and then I can go buy it.
I'll have to see. I also wanted to point out before we move on from GameCube was that Nintendo did a stellar job of securing third-party exclusives, at least timed exclusives.
Like Resident Evil.
Yeah, that was the most notable. Was Resident Evil 4 launched first on GameCube, and in a lot of ways remained better than what it would be on PS2.
Oh, far better.
But then beyond that was the exclusive
0 and 1.
0 and Remake.
And that stayed exclusive for like 10 years or something. That's crazy.
I mean, it found its way to the Wii, but outside of that, it only recently got ported to other systems.
Yeah.
So that was really cool on Nintendo's part. That was really good for them. Interesting tidbit, Resident Evil 0 was actually meant to be a N64 game. Jeez. So you can find footage and screenshots of that on the web. So
damn.
Yeah, it looked good. Like if you remember Resident Evil 2 on the N64, it was on par with that. So kudos to Capcom for that black magic.
Let's see. I just want to talk about one other GameCube tidbit, and that's on the hardware.
Yeah.
Because I think as the hardware goes, that was a success. Right. Now, while they're developing the system, they didn't know, at first that Microsoft was coming out with the machine.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take Microsoft out of the picture.
Right.
The GameCube would have been the first system to be the most powerful of any competitor that Nintendo would have brought out.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And a lot of people, especially the diehard Sony people, don't want to accept that. But it's like facts are facts. The GameCube was leaps and bounds more powerful than PS2.
Oh,
and in many ways, it did some things better than the Xbox eventually did. But a lot of people don't realize that. And that's why, like, the whole power argument when it comes to these Switch rumors and stuff, that's why it always bothers me, because it's like the most powerful is never the most successful. Never.
No.
Never is. Traditionally, it never actually matters. It might be your favorite might be the most powerful, but that doesn't mean it was the most successful.
Yeah, like for me, for that generation, anyways, was the Xbox.
Yeah, me
most
too.
Most powerful, for a lot of things as far as the game console goes. It was ahead of its time, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, the Xbox actually only sold a little bit more than the GameCube.
Yeah, they were essentially neck and neck. But it doesn't matter, because you could combine both of them and they still didn't touch the PS2.
No. Like, not even half. So it was no race. It was race for second place, and that was it.
Yeah.
But moving on from there, that would be the last time Nintendo would really try with hardware, because when the Wii came,
it was just an overclocked GameCube with extra RAM, but
GameCube 1.5.
Well, here's the thing about it. I've read this a few places. I don't really remember where, but the Wii, the technology behind it originally was supposed to be an add-on for the GameCube.
Yep.
And the Wii U was actually going to be their super mega system, that would have come out with the 360 and PS3. That's what it would have competed with. And I don't know what happened. I think the controller for the Wii U was the problem, and that delayed it. And then they said, well, we need to do something here. So then they
based on what I heard was that Nintendo was having trouble selling the GameCube, and they had the controller pretty much good to go based on what I heard and read. And then they decided last minute not to release it as a add-on for the GameCube, simply because there was not very many GameCubes being sold. They were having trouble selling more of them. And then on top of that, it was near the end of the generation, which at the time was only 5 years.
Yeah.
And add-ons don't traditionally sell well. So they decided to make a whole system based around that in order to sell the idea. And it worked out, spectacularly for
them. And if you think about it, the R&D costs, with the exception of the controller, they didn't have to spend a whole lot. They just took the GameCube architecture and revamped it a little bit.
Yep. And I think they did a lot right with that thing. I think the system looks awesome. Like, it's simple as hell, but it looks so good to me.
No, I like that. I just my issue with it is I wish it would have been able to support 720p at the least.
Yeah, that would have been nice, but let's look at what it did do right. Motion control.
Yeah.
Whether it worked all the time or not, it was by and large a wild success.
Well, that's why Metroid Prime Trilogy plays absolutely incredible. And then actually another game which we already talked about for GameCube is Resident Evil 4. The control system for that on the Wii, I don't want to play that game on any other system now. When I bought that a few months ago and I was playing it, I was like, holy shit, this is incredible.
I know.
And visually, the textures, I think, they're a little bit more crisp, but that could be because I'm using component cables.
Right.
But it did look better, and it was in widescreen versus, the 4x3. I just think out of the two, that's the best.
The Wii version of Resident Evil 4 was really great because it basically took all the stuff that the PS2 version had that the GameCube didn't, and it crammed it all in with the GameCube stuff, making it like the ultimate version of the game for a long time, up until kind of recently, actually.
Yeah.
And when I think back on that generation, I don't make it any secret that I'm a big fan of the Wii. I've always been a big fan of the Wii, and I support it like crazy. But like when you look at the library and you get past shovelware, because of Nintendo's hardware, they were like giving birth to a ton of innovative ideas with the games, like tons and tons of them, from both themselves and third parties. Like, sure, you got the Mario Galaxies and stuff like that, which were all fine, really good stuff. But then you had like Nintendo's own Skyward Sword, Zelda. Like that, to me, that is probably the game they should have launched with, just to show everybody how to use the Wii and its motion controls, instead of being the swan song for the system. But then there's like Ubisoft with Red Steel 2. It's like you have sword and gunplay in one game, and it actually works really good. And it's funny because that game is leaps and bounds ahead of its predecessor. Like Red Steel 1 is kind of garbage for the most part. Red Steel 2, it's amazing. Then we have issues where like you have some games like not issues, wrong word. Some games like Silent Hill, Shattered Memories. That is one of my all-time favorites for the Wii.
I haven't played it.
it's funny because it's it looks fantastic, which is hard to say about Wii games generally, beyond just examining the art style. But they took advantage of the lighting within the system so that like it almost had like a Doom 3 type thing going on,
Really?
if you remember. It wasn't like everything had the awesome lighting, but it focused on your flashlight, which was controlled with the Wii remote.
Oh, okay.
So that controlled the direction your character would face, but it also moved the flashlight around. And since it's always these dark, dank environments, having this really good lighting on even just the flashlight made everything kind of look really awesome. Not only that, the game is freaking terrifying and you can't fight back really, so it was tense. It was a really good game. Um, then Nintendo itself, I think, made its own Castlevania in Pandora's Tower, a criminally under
I
or
never even heard of
overlooked
that.
game. It's so good. Is one of the three that had where people there's a thing called Operation Rainfall where a bunch of people gathered together, and this was before the Change.org days, if I remember correctly. But they petitioned Nintendo to bring these three games that were not scheduled to come out over in the States to the States. Um, One of them was Xenoblade Chronicles,
Oh,
which
okay.
Nintendo was like, they ended up doing themselves in response. Another one was The Last Story, which was a game from the original director of Final Fantasy.
Hmm.
So it's like an action RPG. Um, and then the other one, I believe, was made or published by Nintendo Europe. I think I could be wrong on that. And that was Pandora's Tower. Pandora's Tower and Last Story both got published by different publishers, but they did come over here, and they're both awesome. I think
Okay.
Pandora's Tower is my favorite of the three,
I'm have to look
but
those up.
yeah, it's really good. It to me, it's like it's what Castlevania could have been on the Wii, but never was.
Um,
And then of course we can't mention the Wii without Wii Sports and Wii Fit because those are the most successful
yeah.
games on the system.
Now, I never played any of the Wii Fit stuff, but Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resorts and actually Wii Play, those are
Hmm.
all great games. And, that's like, those are the type of games where you want your friends over and you play together, and a lot of that kind of stuff just doesn't really happen today. Like you notice first person shooters and stuff. There is no local multiplayer.
I
It's
know.
all online bullshit. So it's interesting that Nintendo has essentially tried to keep local multiplayer alive,
I
and
know.
they're, in my opinion, they're still doing it.
Yeah, and it always pains me when people complain, "Oh, why are you focusing on this?" And like, I understand why a lot of people are kind of against the the dead focus they have on local multiplayer because they're sacrificing things like voice chat in favor of it. But it's like at the same time, I don't want a world where we don't have local multiplayer. Where you can't just sit on the couch with some friends and play,
Yeah.
have some fun, and have to, instead nowadays you have to be online. Like, there's no other way to do it because split screen is going away for the most part.
Which is funny considering, like, probably pretty recently, a lot of people just bought 75-inch screens. You got
Yeah,
plenty of space there, and being that it's 4K, you could have four 1080p sections. That's perfect for multiplayer.
yeah, that would be awesome. That would
But
actually be
but
very
no,
ideal.
no, they just want to, here's one controller, and make sure you plug in your Ethernet, and there's your multiplayer.
Yep.
But anyway, so what are your thoughts on some of the positives of the Wii U? Um, I know there's a bunch, but they're not really.
They aren't as
talked
obvious
about.
right now.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, I've said this before, but I think the Wii U is going to go down the same path in history that the GameCube did,
maybe even the
where
Dreamcast.
or even the Dreamcast, where in a couple of years people are going to be like, "Man, I can't believe I didn't play this back then,"
Yeah, there's a lot of
and
good
it's gonna,
games.
yeah, it's gonna be a highly sought after thing. Um, Now, whether or not it's underpowered is besides the point, because to me, I think that Nintendo, when they finally took the dive to HD graphics with the Wii U, I think they nailed it, like in every possible way, because they kind of recognized that they're not going to do the most realistic things here. So they didn't even try. Instead, they went with stylized everything. And as a result, we have things that look just fantastic.
I think, Zelda when it comes out, hopefully it still will on the Wii U, is gonna look fantastic.
Yeah,
Visually, right now, I'm just I'm the 12th can't get here quick enough.
I know. But then there's like obviously Mario 3D World is a great
Oh,
looking
such
game.
a great game too.
But
Uh,
then,
that and Toad's was it Captain Toad Treasure
yep,
Tracker? That
yep,
game is great too.
that's a good one too. But then you have like Yoshi's Woolly World,
I haven't played that
everything
yet.
made of yarn, and it's a delight to look at because it's like everything's yarn. Paper Mario even that's probably the most recent Wii U release. That looks great too because everything is like cardboard and paper, and
Oh.
it looks the part. But then at the opposite end of that spectrum, you have like Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Which, believe it or
It's like,
not, I
wow.
have, and I've played it. I played it for a few hours.
I don't know. You're gonna have to prove that to everybody.
I just don't want to stream or record Nintendo stuff because then I gotta give them money, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, well, it's just kind of how it works. Giving
Yeah.
somebody money regardless.
Oh, I did buy
But
the game.
yeah,
Yeah,
um,
hopefully they'll fix their YouTube policies. That would be fantastic.
it's not as terrible in my opinion as people make it out to be. Like, if that's all you do is Nintendo, that's one thing. But I don't know. It doesn't seem bad to me.
We'll see.
But anyway, I did come up with a couple other things I think they did right. Going with the HD graphics, I think that of all the companies out there, I think that they nailed the HD remake idea with
Mm-hmm.
the two Zelda games. Like, holy cow, they did the right stuff. They didn't just take Twilight Princess and just upscale it to HD and just put it out there. Nope, they actually redid certain textures
I
to
noticed.
fit, and it looks great.
It
And I
looks
know it wasn't
very crisp.
they did contract somebody to do the port, but it's still like it looks fantastic. Um, Now obviously like certain other things still look aged, but that happens with all HD remakes. But that and then Wind Waker, almost that game looks almost entirely overhauled.
Well, being that that one's cell shaded, I don't know that that really is gonna like ever look outdated on the Wii
No,
U.
and that's a big plus on Nintendo's side of things. This going stylized like that makes your games does not age. Like they stay that way forever.
And being 1080p, that's a pretty damn good thing for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because like Twilight Princess, I don't I don't know that that one will age well. Like let's say in 10 years, just because
Yeah.
the polygons they didn't really add any detail to the characters. They just fixed they fixed the textures and that.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm very appreciative of that. Looks really nice. But there were some characters in there that I was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
like they're the modeling you could tell was done back in the early 2000s. I mean, like the arms and stuff were just kind of like stuck on there, so when they're moving, it's
Yeah.
not a continuous mesh like they do today. It's old school stuff, and I kind of laughed when I saw that, and it's like, why didn't they fix that? I mean, you're doing it
Because it's a
overall.
remake. Or not like a remake, but I don't know. I can see why they didn't because it would have been extra time and effort on a game that people have already played. Um Plus, I think there's a degree of nostalgia with things like
Eh,
that,
that could be
you
it.
know. But yeah, I think they got that right, and I think there's a couple other things they got right, and that's to me the UI, the store, and the whole Miiverse thing is just what it should be. Like, yeah, there's some things missing. I'll not deny that, but for the most part, I think they got it right. And when I look now that I have an Xbox One to compare to, when I look at the Xbox One and PS4 UI versus the Wii U, well, the Wii U wins hands down,
No, I
hands
think
down.
I agree with that. And actually, now I don't have a 3DS anymore, but it you have the Wii, the 3DS, and the Wii U all share a similar
Yeah.
user interface, and it's awesome. It works. I'm hoping the Switch is very similar. Especially since I'm guessing the Switch will be touchscreen.
Oh yeah.
That interface is perfect for touchscreen.
Yep.
So we'll see how that goes, but they definitely win in the user interface department right now.
Yeah. I think too, a lot of people are giving Nintendo crap for this, but I think their store is perfectly fine. Like, I think it's better than what Microsoft has. Not in terms of content necessarily, but design.
It's easy to
Um,
navigate if that's what we're talking about.
yeah,
It's
Sony's
definitely
is
better.
probably
Sony's is awesome in my opinion, but Microsoft
it's
Store is really bad.
yeah, Microsoft store is rough. To me, the PlayStation One is designed well, but it's not always the way I would like it to be. Like, just the function, like the performance of it, I guess.
Uh,
I it's really laggy on PS3. Like
oh
that's a
God, it's
terrible
awful.
experience. And I still
Oh
like to buy PS3 games, and when they have these flash sales, and I
yeah,
go to buy the game, it's like, man, it's taking forever to get one game. Um, but overall, I think Nintendo got it right. I don't think a lot of people really understand that or even care because they aren't going there. Um, Now we didn't mention this in the last when we were talking about Wii, but this kind of pertains to the same thing as the Virtual Console.
yep,
Like both on the Wii, especially on the Wii, but also on the Wii U, they knocked that out of the park too. The prices to me are right. I don't. A lot of people are like, "Oh, $8 for an N64 game or $10 or whatever." It's like, shut the fuck up. Seriously, it's a full game that costs 60, 70, $80 or more in some cases when it
yep,
first came out. It's a full game. You're still going to get hours and hours and hours of play out of this game. And yeah, it's old and it looks old, but like since when does age determine value? If that was the case, a muscle car from the 70s or 60s wouldn't be worth shit today.
yeah.
You know, vinyl Led Zeppelin records, they wouldn't be worth shit either. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So people complain, oh, $10 for an N64 game and $5 for an NES game. It's like, it's still a full game.
Well, you know what? I guess, well, the generation gap is kind of big, but you could say the same thing with Sony and the PlayStation 1 games that are on the store and they're selling them for $5.
And I
Or
think
a few of them go up to like 12 or something for a PS1 game, and but
I have the same mentality there. Some
yeah,
people complain about that, but it's like, there's still full games. It's not like you're getting like a demo for that price,
yeah,
you know? Um, but either way, I think Nintendo knocked it out of the park, especially on the Wii, because not only did they have their own systems, but they had like Sega Master System, Sega Genesis, arcade,
yep,
and then they had like TurboGrafx 16, Neo Geo. Like, holy shit, man. These are all systems I never had growing up, and now I can have the games.
yeah,
All thanks to the Wii.
and hopefully they transfer over
Hopefully they carry over that.
because they didn't with the Wii and the Wii U, which I think was stupid. But
No, they had it's controversial, but the plan they put in place for the games that came out on the Wii U Virtual Console, I think was okay. I understand the reasoning. Like they charged basically if it was a NES game, it was like $1 to upgrade to the Wii U version. Now, there are perks to this. Like the Wii U version does have more things. It's not just the base game. Like it has like save states, and
Oh,
you
okay.
customize the controls, um, stuff like that. And that wasn't in the Wii version. So for an extra buck, if you already owned it on Wii, you could have it on Wii U with those features. And if it was a Super Nintendo game, it was like $1.50 for the upgrade. It's like, well, that to me that's fine. Like I had no problem paying that for pretty much all the games that came out on the Wii U that I already had on Wii, because save states and customizable controls, like sure. But I can see why people would be upset. Like that sort of thing should just carry from system to system, and hopefully they get that right now.
Yeah. Follow, I hate to say it, but follow Apple's lead on that one.
Follow Android's lead even. Like your apps just carry over until the
It's a,
hardware.
it's attached to your account, not the
Yeah.
device. But they have it attached to the device, which actually, if you let's say go to, dare I say it, GameStop and buy a used Wii U, if the
Hmm.
previous owner had bought a bunch of games,
Yeah,
they're going to
exactly.
be on there because they're attached to the system and not the account, which kind of, it's kind of shitty.
Yeah. Now they did launch last year their new what's it called? Is it My Nintendo or Club
Well, they
Nintendo?
got
One of them
they closed the club
was it closed?
Nintendo, yeah.
That was the one they closed. Well, the My Nintendo thing is the start of their account system, so
Okay.
we can expect to see that starting with the Switch. Um, and I'm assuming that means your purchases will be tied to it rather than the hardware. I did want to mention too, kind of briefly, the two screen experience, freaking awesome.
No, I do agree with that. And
Like,
then
there's not a lot to say there, but it's an awesome feature.
but one of the other features that is huge is the fact that you can play your game essentially in any room without the TV. As
Yeah,
long as you're within a proper distance.
yep. And that distance is not terribly short. Like, I've had instances where I could get like 25 feet away and still be playing just fine. So it's like it's not super bad. There are problems if you have like walls between you and the system and stuff like that, but it's certainly not bad. It's nothing to complain about. Um, so yeah, I think that's about it. There was a bunch of good games. Um, like obviously we mentioned some of them. I did want to mention like Fast Racing Neo. It's a
Oh,
digital
that's
only game,
I
but
wish it was
man,
on disc. I really do.
it is in Europe.
Well, see, that doesn't help because their damn systems are region locked, which I wish, and I know there's a bunch of other people out there, that Nintendo would do a firmware update before the Wii U is completely dead that would open up the regions.
Yeah. I agree with you there because of the Fatal Frame game that also came out on the digital eShop. Because that game is only available on the eShop and it's sold in episodes, which I don't ever buy episodic games unless I can buy all the episodes at once because I don't like to piecemeal my games.
Mm.
I like to have the whole thing. Um, but like the Fatal Frame game, even though it's not so great, I guess, like you can get the first episode for free. So I played through that and it's pretty cool. It's pretty creepy. I like it. And I'd like to have it on disc, but I know in Europe it came out on disc, but not here. Um,
Europe gets all the good stuff.
yeah, then they say that about us in some cases. So,
Yeah.
but a few other things we have to mention if we're talking about Wii U and its successes is Super Mario Maker. Like,
Yeah, I unfortunately do not have that one yet, but
well,
it's
it's
definitely
funny
on my
because
radar.
I remember the ramp up to that game before it was officially revealed or anything. Miyamoto talking about how Minecraft should have been a Nintendo property. He really loves it and blah, blah, blah. And it's like you knew when he talked about it like that, something was happening. But it's like you just never could really imagine what that something might be because it's Nintendo and Miyamoto especially. You never know what the hell he's gonna do. Um, and then they come out with Mario Maker. And it's such a simple concept that proved to be so good. And it's funny because like they took that Minecraft mentality of create anything and share it, and they just spun it in the Nintendo way, and it made their own thing that stands on its own without Minecraft to lean on.
Yeah, and
So
that's pretty awesome. The Wii U version I know is definitely really good, and then they kind of
skimp the
dwarfed,
3DS one.
yeah, which kind of poopy. But I don't have a
Yeah.
3DS, so it doesn't really matter to me.
Nope. Then I gotta mention like the many, 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 many quality 2D platformers. Um, the first one was one I picked up on launch day, and that was New Super Mario Brothers U.
Yeah,
I
I got
still
that.
say that that is right up there in terms of quality with Mario World. Now everybody's gonna shoot me for that, but I don't care because it is really well designed. The levels are better than other New Super Mario Brothers games. Obviously, the graphics are stuff are better. I think the power ups are better. I think everything about it's better than previous ones, with the exception of Mario World and 3.
Mm.
And to me, when you're like number 3 or even 4 in on the list of Mario games, you are doing really good. You're doing a lot of stuff right, and I think that that game does it. Um, and then there's like Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
Which I have yet to buy. I need to pick that one up yet.
Like, dude, when you hear the sound, like like for me, I played through the first like world or so, and then I got to the second world, and all of a sudden like the sound was starting to kick in. I was used to the controls, getting comfy, but then like the music started, and I was just like, wow, like holy crap, this sounds so good. Like this reminds me of the original Donkey Kong Country. And there's a good reason for that because they got the same dude that did it, Kurt Grand. I think it's Kurt Grandhope. Can't talk today. But either way, they got the guys, or at least one of the guys from the original DKC series to do the music for this one, and it shows.
Awesome.
He's also now doing the music for Ukulele. So,
Oh. Now,
hooray!
it was Retro Studios that made it, right?
Yes, Retro did 2 Donkey Kong games after Metroid Prime 3 was completed.
Oh, okay.
So there was that, and then there was a few others that were awesome, like Pikmin 3. Um, Obviously, we talked about Zelda ports, and I think like a few of the third parties are worth checking out if you haven't already. And one of them you have, Zombie U.
I think it's pretty good.
It's a
Um,
flawed game, but it's really inventive and worth a play.
and I think visually, honestly, I think visually it's pretty good.
A lot of people say it looks terrible, but to me, it's like it establishes atmosphere
Yeah,
really
yeah,
well.
yeah.
It might not be the most detailed looking thing out there, but
No, it's
holy
like
cow.
it's it's almost like an improved N64 type game. You know how like N64 was always blurry. Well,
Yeah,
this
that was on
there.
purpose more with Zombie U,
No,
like
yeah,
clearly.
yeah. But what I'm just saying is that's kind of how I see it. Is it's just not as crisp as
Yep.
some of the other games on the system.
Yep. Now then there's like Splinter Cell Blacklist. I recommend that to everybody. I think it's a really good port. Um Call of Duty games, I will say I got both of them now. Black Ops 2 is really good on Wii U. Ghosts, I don't know. Like I didn't. I felt like I got a Wii version that was upscaled because I did the first level and it actually looked really good, where you're in space and all that crap.
Yeah, I remember seeing IGN compare the various versions,
Yeah.
and that to me at the time, with the exception of PC, looked the best. But
Yeah. Well,
I never
after I
played the
got to
whole
the
game, so
after I got to the first real level, and there was like grass, that grass, it looked like it was ripped straight out of a original Wii game, something standard def. And I was just like dumbfounded. And then I took control of the dog, and it didn't go my way, so it was like, I'm done playing for now. I haven't returned since, so who knows? Maybe it's awesome too. I don't really know, I guess, but um, just taking a look at my games really quick because I know there's some. Oh, Need for Speed Most Wanted.
Okay.
EA did release that gem on there, and it's based. That port is actually based on the PC version, so it does look better than 360 and PS3.
That's
considerably.
awesome. I'm not
Has better draw distance and stuff like that. Like they actually took advantage of the system.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a ton of Wii U games. We've talked about Wii U before, and anybody watching this video should definitely check out that video because I think we cover more there.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to take a quick break right now, and we'll be back. So